we'll go on to Thriller. Eh? Now, I've picked a film here that only came out in 2019, but I know for a fact I'm going to watch it for years to come, and I've already watched it 3 times, and that is Joker. Now, I was so looking forward to this film. That can be a dangerous thing when you're looking forward to a film so much, because it can sometimes disappoint. It absolutely exceeded my expectations. I didn't expect it to be this good whatsoever. I had a feeling that Joaquin Phoenix might knock it out the park because he's a great actor and stuff, and he did. But I just didn't expect this tense film that we got, and how amazingly made it was by Todd Phillips, who, let's be honest, only made comedies really before this, and just shows how good of a director he is. I just love everything about it, the score, the way it's filmed, just Joaquin Phoenix roaming the streets in New York. He's like a dangerous individual, but he doesn't really know it yet, and just all this bad stuff happening around him, and it just all comes together so well. I don't think a scene's wasted. I think it's so perfectly paced and perfectly constructed into some amazing film. I've got one little problem with it, which I'll mention in a minute, but were you a fan of this? I'm a big Batman fan, and I love the Joker as a villain. So this just worked for me in every way. So we never really got an origin story either, did we? So and have you seen this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, Aiden. You want to go first?
So I went into this, opening day after work, and I was like, I'll go in with moderate expectations. I think Joaquin Phoenix is going to do good. I'd heard that he'd done very well, and I come out of it and I was like, Jesus Christ, that was a good movie. It takes a fair few elements from Taxi Driver and a lot of Scorsese's work, but as its own individual movie, I think it's stunning. I bought the 4K disc, and it's an insanely good quality looking movie. The score as well by I'll just say Hilda because I can't say a second name, but is one of the best movie scores that I think I've ever heard. And in terms of a box office as well, this shouldn't have done as well as it did. I think the press surrounding it helped as well by saying, the violence and all that, even though whilst it is violent, it's not as violent as, some big, say, action set pieces, movies that are out. But yeah, I think it's a very, very well paced movie and a very good portrayal of things like mental illness in the society that we live in today.
Yeah.
I would see this, and I'm a huge Heath Ledger, Dark Knight fan. I think that's like the pinnacle of the Joker. Don't get me wrong, we've had all different Jokers. Jack Nicholson's quite a cheesy out, really over the top Joker, but I didn't expect Joaquin Phoenix. I was completely blown away by this film, like absolutely blown away, because it's just a tour de force. His performance is just unbelievable. I didn't think when a Joker film, you expect certain tropes of the Joker, part of a Joker film, this crime spree, but it's such a different film. It's really hard to describe how it made me feel at the time. I think it's just such a great film, and and the way the story, how well it's paced as well throughout, and obviously the end is it's brilliant. And yeah, I have to say, Todd Phillips knocked it out the park, and so did Joaquin Phoenix. Just one of the great performances on screen, I think, in terms of becoming a character.
Yeah, what I really loved about this film is I was so invested in his story, like the Joker character's story, or Arthur Fleck, if you like, that I totally forgot it was in Gotham, and it's not in the world of Batman because it is his own film. But then when it come together, when he went to see Bruce Wayne, and then it turns out this is how his father got shot, and I was just like, oh my God, that is so well tied together. And like they break it, like he's a no one at the start of the movie, and at the end he's broken out the car by all these protesters and stuff. And when he's just on the top of the car, I was like, oh my God, that is a total character arc right there. And I just wish the film ended there. My only problem with it is when he's back in the mental institution at the very end. I don't think they should have included that in the movie. I think it should have just ended there. But apart from that, it's pretty damn perfect for me. I could watch this at any time. I mean, I know it's a more serious film than some of the ones we mentioned here, but I could just go to this anytime. I love it to bits. I just think it's fantastic. But, yeah, I agree with you, Andy. I think Heath Ledger is the pinnacle, but this is kind of a different Joker in my opinion. I feel like Heath Ledger is the afterwards of what this character was. Like, this is him becoming. Heath Ledger is sort of the afterwards, like what he is after that. Totally, slightly, well, not slightly different, but different types of Joker. Like, one's before, one's actually as the Joker, if you get me. So I think it's kind of hard to compare them because they made the character their own in their own different way, if you get me.
Do you think that, you know, he lived up to Jared Leto's unbelievable performance? Awful.
It's close.
Might be coming back for Zack Snyder's 4-hour cut, mightn't he?
Yeah. I'd just like to add to it though. I remember being in the cinema, and I'd really enjoyed it up until that point, and then I think the scene when he goes onto the talk show with Robert De Niro is insanely well acted, and I remember just there like, I'm sweating here. This is tense. Because you weren't 100% sure on what he was actually going to do, if he was going to kill himself, because you weren't sure if this was going to be a standalone, you know, one and done movie. And then, you know, he goes into that whole monologue of you get what you deserve, and then just goes in with it. And the scene when the police car's crashed and he stands up on top of it and he does the blood smile is going to be etched in my memory for ages. I loved it.
Yeah, and I remember that happening with De Niro, and the whole theatre just went, oh, like, you could hear the gasps. And I was like, oh my God, yeah. But there's another bit like that in the film where he's on the train. It's kind of like not as intense as that, but where he first kills that bit, like when he's just got the gun and stuff. A lot of people were gasping in the cinema at that bit as well. And he could just leave the guy to run away, but then he's something crazy about him because he runs after him. And he didn't have to do that, but yeah, just a brilliant film, really. All right, then. There's my pick for thriller. Who wants to go next? Anyone?
I'll go next. I picked Silence of the Lambs, the 1991 film by Jonathan Demme. Obviously, this film is most well known for the Hannibal Lecter performance by Anthony Hopkins. Obviously, it's like one of the most famous of all villain performances, even though, you know, I know he is a villain in it, but it's the sort of relationship that it's Clarice Starling, played by Jodie Foster, is actually central to the film's, like, the feeling of the film, if you will. But to me, also, the thriller aspect is obviously when Hannibal escapes later in the film. Spoiler alert. But also the performance of Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill, the serial killer. He's just, he's just mesmeric. The scene where obviously, people know what serial killers. Ted Bundy used to pretend to be injured to lure people into the back of his van, and that they sort of play off that in the film. But I just think that the performance by Anthony Hopkins, the performance, sort of doe-eyed, but really smart performance by Jodie Foster as well, and then Ted Levine's menacing. Obviously, again, a very quotable film. Obviously, everyone does the Hannibal Lecter quotes all the time. I do them around the house just as a joke. They're not really that funny. That's the scream of the lamb, just all stuff like that. It's just, I just love it. But to me, it's a perfect thriller, and obviously the end is really tense with it's completely in pitch black. We can see it, but she can't see anything.
Yeah.
He's got the night vision goggles on. It's a really tense film, and it's just a film if it's on and she's going to visit him in the institution, or if it's on and she's going to visit him in Memphis. I can't turn away. I have to stay for the rest of the film. Then it's just one of those films for me.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Aiden?
Yeah, it's one of the best movies of all time, like hands down. This would have been my pick had I not gone for what I did. I think Hannibal Lecter, played by Anthony Hopkins. You can't not talk about this movie and not talk about it, especially the first time that you see him and he's looking at Jodie Foster with these just dead, calculating eyes. Saying that he old friend and a nice Chianti, and that noise that he makes that I've never been able to replicate. I can't rate this movie highly enough, because it goes from this sort of crime little thriller to then a bit of action, and you're sort of figuring out like the next steps as to what could happen, because there can't be a good ending to this movie. You sort of go into that thinking, either this person's going to escape, or this person's going to escape, or they're both going to escape. I think this is a very good movie and a very influential movie as well.
Yeah. I mean, Anthony Hopkins won that Oscar for lead actor, and he's only in
16 minutes. Yeah.
That's got to be some sort of record, though,
It is, yeah.
for the lead actor. Like, I think it's a very atmospheric film. That's what I like about it the most. That you always feel like you get the sense that every character in the film knows that there's this psycho on the loose, and everyone seems on edge a little bit. It's just so atmospheric, and I think the score definitely plays into that. I think they won Best Sound as well in this movie. They won an Oscar for Best Sound. I just that like even Jodie Foster just running in the woods seems dangerous to me because the score that they amplifying into the film. I think it's brilliant, and I think it works with two villains, like two different villains, totally separate locations, but it just works. It just gives it that little bit extra that most movies don't do, I feel. I mean, if it's two killers in it, they're usually like together or something like that, like Scream or something. But this one, it's just two total opposites, and it just works. But having the both of them in, very, very well cast film. It's one of the best films ever made. Mm-hmm. Simple as. What do you reckon, Andy? Anything else on that? I mean,
no. If you always start doing Ted Levine quotes like "put the lotion in the basket," I can do them all day, but I'm not going to. No, it's just a great film. I'll let Aiden move on to his film now because I'll be here all day.
Well, one thing I will before Aiden does is like that's a perfectly directed scene where he escapes like that. That's just amazing, and but she lifts the sheet over him in the ambulance, or he's already took it off and he's behind her.
Yeah,
Amazing. All right, then, Aiden, we'll move on to your thriller film.
Just before I do move on to mine, I will say, watch the Hannibal TV show. It's insanely good.
I've watched the first series.
It's very, very good.
I've seen the first series.
So, thriller for me, I was like, for pretty much all the way, I had 7 written down. And I thought, is that too just generic for me to pick? So I've gone with Get Out, directed by Jordan Peele, in what was his first directorial role, which is crazy when you think about it, considering how well made this movie is. This is insanely good for me. I think you've got Daniel Kaluuya, who's the most British fella ever, doing this impeccable American accent. And you've got Bradley Whitford, who's one of my favourite actors, full stop. Yeah. He would have voted for Obama a third time if he could have. And the whole play on race that this movie has it's not forced on you, which I feel like adds to how good it is more. Because when a movie tries to force the message down you just sort of get drawn out a little bit, and then you sort of putting the tropes into it with it. And I think this movie is like exceptional. The scene that stands out for me is obviously when I can't remember the lady's name, but she's got a little teacup and she's trying to hypnotize him, and Daniel Kaluuya is just he's streaming tears down his face whilst looking petrified at the same time, and then he just sinks into the void. I was like, I think this movie is top tier, and everyone who hasn't seen it needs to see it, both on a society, you know what I mean, on the level of the society that we live in. It's important that you watch this movie because it tells its story really, really well.
Yeah, it's very well put together. What do you reckon, Andy? You seen Get Out?
Yeah, I've seen it quite a few times. My girlfriend is a huge fan of Jordan Peele. She likes what was the other film? Us.
Yeah.
And we've watched the what's it called? The series he did for CBS.
Key and Peele.
No.
The Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, there you go. Sorry, I should have known that. But yeah, no, it's fantastic. And Daniel Kaluuya, I remember he was in Skins as Posh Kenneth. Did a really posh accent. And then you watch him in this film, and it is all these things you said there, correct. It's just a really atmospheric film, and Bradley Whitford is brilliant. I can't remember who plays the wife. It slipped my mind now. But no, a little Ray Howell as well, with the little comedy, and where he's on the phone to his girlfriend, and he's like putting her on mute, and it takes you a bit out of it, but it's also really needed to loosen up. But it's a very serious subject matter. I also like Keith Stanfield's little cameo as the old fellow who gets put in the black man's body there, and the way he's talking, and he's like, Dan Kaluuya's like, what's going on here? Who is this person? And that's how he leads. It all leads downwards. But no, it's, and then towards the end, the thrills even like wound up even further. He's trying to escape. It's just an excellent film overall. I think I've seen it about 10-15 times now.
Yeah, I was gonna, when you mentioned Little Rel Howery there, he's hilarious in this film. I remember watching it. It does give you that little break. I think what I like about this is when they go to the house, like it's so, everything seems fine, but something isn't right. Like it just gives that eerie feeling like there's something off. Even though the parents are being really, really nice to him and stuff, there's something deep down not right here, like as a viewer. And I just think it's really good the way it captured that, in my opinion anyway. Obviously, that scene, my favourite, I know you said your favourite scene's where he sinks into the chair, but I love the scene where finally they take a picture of that lad who's like a slave. He just turns his personality and just goes, get out, and that's why the film's called Get Out, basically. I love that moment. I think it's great. But Jordan Peele going to go on to do some more great films, obviously, let's be honest. I'm looking forward to his Candyman film. I know he's only producing it, but I think he's got all the talent in the world to make some great films. I personally do like Us better. That's just me. But I think that's a very, very clever film, to be honest. Yeah. But a lot of, like, I know I'm in the minority there, a lot of people do prefer Get Out. I think it's a really, really good film. It always reminded me, what it reminded me of after I watched it? Sort of like Hostel, but without the gore, if you get me, because they're sort of like, I know you mightn't see that, but they're sort of like bidding on them, aren't they, as slaves? In Hostel, that's what they do, to kill them. But
True.
obviously without the gore and the violence, obviously, but that's just the vibe I got off it. But and they're like doing it behind his back and stuff like that. And Daniel Kaluuya is excellent in this as well.
I like that. Just to add, I like the brother because he's really unpredictable, and he brings like an element of, because everyone else is really nice and happy, and the family's all nice, but then the brother comes into it. His brother-in-law comes into it. It's like he's just a bit messy, isn't he? And he's like trying to choke him out at the dinner table. He's just a bit weird. I think that's where it starts cranking. It's cranking up the pace, and I like that bit in the film as it changes from there on out.
Talking about this now is really making me want to watch this film. Got it on 4K there. I might give it a go again tonight. Really want me to watch it. But you got anything else to say, Aiden, Get Out?
Well, I picked this in terms of rewatchability because some of the themes in it are very subtle. Like there's a scene that involves I'm not going to say which character, but they're eating coloured cereal separate from the white milk. It's the little things that you pick on the second time. You're like, what? So you have a great time with it.
Yeah. So all right. Well, that is Get Out. So got 2 more genres to go here. The next one is, we'll go with horror. How's that? Now, I picked a bit of a weird one here because we're talking about Oscar-winning films here, like Silence of the Lambs and stuff. And I picked the miniseries that was on TV called It, the Stephen King one. And I don't know what it is. This is a 3-hour epic, but I just watched it all the time as a kid. I think I've always had this fascination for killer clown films. I don't know why. I've just always been into them. Like, and I know we haven't got loads of them in the world. I don't know. I just always found this fascinating thing with horror and clowns. I just think it works really well.
More? Is that what you're asking for? More killer clown films?
Yeah. Can't wait for the Terrifier 2. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen Terrifier.
Yeah. But I was going to go with Elm Street 3, but I think just as a kid, like, I remember, like, we had friends over in the neighborhood and they used to come and watch this because they were just, like, terrified of it. And they used to watch it and say, oh, pause it now, because they were terrified of Tim Curry as Pennywise. And I think it's a brilliant performance what he gives off. But I just love the setting of this. I love the story, the way it's told. It's not just the clown for me. Like, I do love the clown aspect of it and stuff, but I love the story, and I love the way each character has got, like, their own little backstory when they first had their little encounter with Pennywise, and, and then obviously the second half of the film is them all, they're all coming together and stuff. But I just really like it. I think Stephen King is probably the best storyteller of our modern generation, like, at this time. The amount of things that he can come up with, and I've read the book as well. It's fantastic. But I don't know. I just like this film. I just think it's got a lot of good things that a movie should have. Good story, good villain, good characters. So have you seen this one? I mean, I know it's not as well watched as most horror movies, but
I've seen both. I've seen both of them. I obviously, I do like Andy Muschietti's version quite a lot because I think there's like a comedy element to that. But this is this is as I've watched them both together, both I think on my horror channel or whatever it comes in two halves, part one and part two. But I've seen them both. And yeah, Tim Curry's excellent as Pennywise, and I think because it's on for a bit longer, and obviously there's two parts to the modern version of the film as well. I just like the story. I just love the story. I think as you say, it isn't just about the horror of the killer clown. It's also about the growing up in the story. It's like it's got quite a Stand By Me. I know it's another book by Stephen King. Stand By Me, Goonie. That and obviously this version came out 1990, I think it was.
1990, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that theme at that time, and obviously a lot of those rite to passage films, people growing up, and then the fact that they all forget what's happened to them because they all leave the town. Yeah. And obviously Derry is a town, obviously in Castle Rock, he plays on that even further. I just think it is a really good. I understand why you picked it. I think it's as a story, whether you like whichever film you like, it's just perfect for films. It's a bit long, but no, it's a great series, or a great mini series, if you will.
Yeah, I do really like coming of age films, and this is one of my favourites. So, you seen it, Aiden?
Yeah, and believe it or not, I prefer the newer ones. But
I think a lot of people do, to be honest.
I think just for me, it's just like it is a little bit dated, and some of the effects they don't hold up too good. But I think the story that they have here with the source material that they had, because the It novel is very, very outlandish in what it goes for. So turning it into a 3-hour miniseries, I think it did really well with what they did, and obviously Tim Curry, he knocks out of the park. Somebody who everyone knows and has seen at least one thing of his and can agree that he's a bright spark in whatever they're watching. And the scene that sticks out to me that isn't Hiya Georgie is when he's in the library and he's got the spinning thing and he's just laughing to himself.
Yeah.
I think he does really, really well with the character, and as does Bill Skarsgård. I know we're not talking about that, but I think you can watch either one and be sound with what you've got from here.
Yeah, I mean, because it is a 3-hour epic, there's only like 1 or 2 moments on each character's story with the clown. So it's like you'll see one character's story for about 20 minutes, and then it'll be like a minute of the clown at the end, or 30 seconds. But I think it works so well because it's kind of like the book, actually. There's a lot of story in the book. The clown just comes in when it needs to, and then moves on. And I think it works really well in the film as well. But yeah, I think I did read the book, and it does get it nailed down pretty well. Obviously, they have to leave a couple of things out the book that were in there, which is kind of weird. But it's not weird to leave it out. It's weird what happens in the book.
It's Stephen King, though. How does he come up with these stories?
All right, then we'll just move on from it. Then I think we've said our thing on that. Okay, go with you, Andy. What have you picked for your horror film?
I've picked the 28 Days Later, the Danny Boyle film. Now, I'm not like the biggest horror fan. I think I've said this before. I don't rewatch a lot of horror films, but this is, I think, a really easy watch film. And the reason I particularly like this is the fact, obviously, it's a British film as well, so it's very easy to relate to, and obviously not in a zombie way, but we'll move on from that. I just like the film as in the opening scene. Obviously, he wakes up and he's finding out that everything's changed. He's walking along the bridge, and it's just deserted. And I just like the zombies, to me, are really menacing in this film because they are just like ravenous and they're fast and they run after people. Not the slow zombies in some films, and I think that's what makes this film more effective. And I think the only bit that I will point out, because it does annoy me when I watch it, when Brendan Gleeson ends up turning as a zombie, that really winds me up. That it's like a blood drop in the eye. I couldn't have thought of anything better.
Yeah.
Just winds me up. But funny story, Megan Burns, who's the young girl who's Brendan Gleeson's daughter, was in my year in school. She was in my school, and I didn't know one.
She was actually in your school, or?
She was actually in my school, and I'm going to be honest, Megan, if you ever watched this, I apologise. Never spoke to her. I don't think a lot of people did. And she kept herself to herself. she's part of like a film that's that will be around forever. So good for her. But yeah, it's just a film I've watched tons of times, and funny enough, every time the film's on, I say to my girlfriend, "Did you know the girl of this film was in my school?" So she gets to know by that. So yeah, but yeah, it is the horror film I rewatch most.
Yeah, I think it's very well made, the way, especially that opening scene. I mean, I was like, how did they make this? But do you know how they actually done it? Like, I looked it up. At 4 a.m., they had an hour to film, and they obviously predicted that people were going to be annoyed that they couldn't go down this road because they were all drunk and come out of nightclubs and stuff. So Danny Boyle hired a few attractive women, including his own daughter, by the way. But apparently she's very good looking. He didn't hire her, but he said, go and tell them people over there and distract them. So they did, and that's how they kept everyone away. They got some good-looking women to distract all the nightclubbers, which is just...
Hey,
it's just weird the way that worked out. But they only had an hour to film it, but they done it, and I think it looks brilliant. It's very, very effective. What else? I know you mentioned the zombies there. They are very the fast in this compared to usual. I don't know which type I prefer, but it was refreshing to see it in this. But I think something else that's scary in this is Christopher Eccleston's character and all the stuff. Like,
yeah.
I think The Walking Dead, like, the way they've got them bad characters in that show, it works, and it's like this as well. Obviously, this came first, but I think that's so effective. The way Christopher Eccleston and the way his character is into this film, like the way it's put into the story and stuff. He's pretty horrible guy, but yeah, like it's not just zombies you got to worry about. You got to worry about these people as well. It's all fights and survival and stuff. Yeah, brilliant film by Danny Boyle. I like the sequel as well, but this one's the one. What do you think, Aiden? Have you seen 28 Days Later?
I've only ever seen it the once. It was one of those movies in the house that was a no, you're not allowed to watch that. And,
is that still the case, or you're allowed to watch it now?
So that's what I think of it. Yeah, I think again, like we've said before, it's really, really well made. Obviously, the opening and how the zombies are, what they are, and I don't know if I prefer the sequel or not, but they're both like on par for me at least. Having only seen both of them the once, though, I do need to watch them again. But from what I do remember it being very, very well made, and that opening, of course.
Yeah, and it's like a virus that's outbreaking. I don't want to say too much because that's what's happening right now, isn't it? But,
yeah.
But I was going to say something else then. I forgot. But should we just move on to the next one then? I mean, yeah, just the horrors out the way.
Aiden.
Have you done yours, Aiden? Oh, sorry, yeah, Aiden, go on, sorry.
Yeah, mine's 28 weeks. No. So, me being a horror fan, and talked about it in the horror video, I've got a whole bunch that I could have gone for, but I'm thinking in terms of rewatchability, I was close to picking Evil Dead 2. But I've settled on A Cabin in the Woods, directed by Drew Goddard. This is like, it shouldn't be as good as it is, in my opinion. You've got Chris Hemsworth in here after Thor, but the movie was made before Thor, so that helped out a lot with its box office success. Bradley Whitford's obviously in it. You got Richard Jenkins as well, and the effects in this are like really, really good for a movie that shouldn't. A lot of it shouldn't work, but it does in terms of horror meta and things like that. It really, I think it's very, very well paced and extremely funny for what it's going for as well. And a bit of a fact for you, the effects in the movie, the practical effects were done by Heather Langenkamp and her husband.
Oh, yeah, from The Nightmare House.
Yeah. So they own a practical effects company, and they ended up doing the effects on this movie. So that's another little horror trope that's fitting into it. And I love the scene in it with the merman. Gets me every time. Oh, come on. Yeah, I love this movie.
Go on, Andy.
No, I was just going to say, I've seen this film once, but when you watch this film, it sets itself up as the old usual trope. People go to the woods, and this is what you expected people to come and get them, a bit like strangers, whatever, It's just not like that at all. When it's flipped, when it finally flipped, it's like, whoa, this film's like nothing like I expected. And it's actually a really good film. And I can understand. I need to watch it again. I can understand why it's you consider it rewatchable, because it is. There's like little things that you can pick up. Obviously, at the end, there's a lot of different monsters. I won't spoil too much for people, but it is a really enjoyable film. And like you say, it is Chris Hemsworth, and obviously, I'm guessing they thought, let's Thor come out first, and then because he's in this, we can use that to market the film. But no, it is a really enjoyable watch. It was something I like that when you have one idea of a film and then halfway through the film it completely flips on its head and something completely different. I do enjoy that. So yeah, I did enjoy this film.
Yeah, I think a lot of modern horror films now, like, there isn't loads of them like we got in the 80s and stuff, and the 90s even. But I think this is one of the ones from the last 15 years, or is it 15 years? I think it is, isn't it? Yeah. That just stands out like some of the other, like, I don't know, like it remake, if you like. What the odd one just stands out, doesn't it? I've only seen this once, I'm going to be honest, but after that I just looked at my fiance and went, I just couldn't believe it. Like, the third act is just, I didn't expect that at all. I just couldn't believe it. And it doesn't even slow down as well, like all the way till the very end. You're just like, oh my God, is that really just happened? The only really hint that you get from it is the science guy, the science lab saying, oh, we need to do this, we need to do that. And I was like, what's all that about? And then when you finally revealed towards the end, I was like, oh my God. But it's just mad to see, like, I won't say too much, but these characters, if you like, just running amok. But yeah, I can't say too much on this film, Aiden, because I've only seen it once. But it is one of the best modern horror movies out there, I think.
When I sort of watch some of those typical like slasher movies now, I just sort of think like, oh, they've pressed the button there to activate that. You know, I'll watch a Friday the 13th and like, oh, there's the special scent button now, and now they're all horny. That's what I'm thinking going into them now, just because of Cabin in the Woods. I think it's quite rewatchable in that sense. Yeah.
All right, then, should we just move on to the last genre then, or do you want to say anything else on that? No.
I just want to. One of my honourable mentions was Tremors, and I was just wondering if either of you had seen Tremors.
Shamefully, no.
It's so bad. It's great. You need to watch it. Like Kevin Bacon is just fantastic. You need to see it. It's well worth your time. I'll leave it there.
That's just come out on 4K lately, and a lot of people on YouTube are talking about it. It's made me want to watch it. I have heard of the film. I know Kevin Bacon's in it.
It's absolutely terrible, but it's so good at the same time.
All right, then. Well, we'll go for drama now, and this is not the easiest category to pick from, in my opinion, but one just stood out, and that was Stand By Me. I mean, it's a bit of a mishmash of genres. There's a lot of comedy in it. It's a coming of age film, but it is mainly a drama. Like, I just love the four characters in this film. I just think one of them's a leader, the other one's a bit of a nerd, the other one is like really, really like crazy, and the other one's just like scared all the time of everything. And they just go on this epic adventure over a couple of days, and it's just a fabulous film. Lots of great dialogue, you know, all skitting each other all the time and all that. And you just go on this journey with them. I love Stephen King adaptation based on the book The Body, of course. I just think it's a fantastic adventure film, and it's got everything in it that you want. And Kiefer Sutherland, obviously, is the villain in this. Is horrible as Ace. I know it's one of my favourite films, one of my most rewatchable, but I would actually put this in probably like my top 50 best films I've ever seen. It would be in there. I think one of the best things about it, and probably my favourite scene, is you need this little breakup from what they're doing, and it's just sat around a campfire, and it just goes into this story that Gordy tells about the pie eating contest. I just think that's a funny moment in the film and breaks it up perfectly. Kind of like Get Out, with that the comedic fella is always telling the comedic jokes, but this is in one scene, and you just need that little release from the little adventure they're having and stuff. But I just think it's a brilliant film. I love it to death. My first time watching this, my mum took me to my friend's house, and her son was watching it. He was like halfway through the film, and I was just glued to it. And I went, oh, I need to borrow this. And I just watched it like 3 times that weekend. I just loved it to death. But fan of Stand By Me, Andy?
Yeah, again, it's one of those films that you when people say what's your favourite film in the what your favourite films growing up, or what name 10 films from the 80s, it seems to be one that always comes up. I think it's like a Friday, for people over 30, it's sort of a rite of passage that you have to watch this film. I think it is excellent. I didn't realise that, to be honest with you, it's not a film that I watch a lot. I have seen it a number of times. I didn't really know that Rob Reiner directed it. I think that Rob Reiner, obviously, did a lot of comedy, did obviously mockumentaries, and in Spinal Tap, it's a strange one for him, but it is such a great coming of age tale. It's something, obviously, we don't find dead bodies, but it's a group of friends, and obviously going on an epic adventure. Obviously it's not as light-hearted and funny as Goonies, but it's just very of that time where and it's a great story as well. It's it's a very film that's left a mark on a lot of people of my age group. So yeah, I think it is a superb film, and as I say, I'm not quite surprised that Rob Reiner directed it.
Yeah, I was looking at Rob Reiner's filmography, and it's like he just had these 5 films on the run that were just like all amazing. Like this, The Princess Bride, Misery. I was just like, my God, he just made like 5 amazing films there. I forgot the other 2. One was
Spinal Tap.
Spinal
Tap, yeah. But it's just like on a constant run. I was like, oh my God, he made all these films. But what do you think, Aiden? Have you seen Stand By Me?
I've only seen it, I think, twice. Like growing up was one of the times. So I remember I was watching Family Guy and they did a skit on it. So I thought, all right, I might as well stick that on, see if it's good for the source material. Yeah. So you can thank Family Guy for that. But I think it's a really good coming of age movie, and obviously Rob Reiner directing it is like a bit of a curveball from what you've seen from him in the past, and I think with the cast that they've got, the kids have really, really good chemistry. You got Corey Feldman, River Phoenix, and Will Wheaton in particular.
Jerry Connell's the other one. Jerry Maguire,
yeah, and then obviously Kiefer Sutherland showing up. It's just weird seeing someone like that here. But yeah, I think in terms of rewatchability, I can get that easily. It's just mates going on a walk looking for something, obviously a dead body, but we all had those sort of experiences, obviously not looking for a dead body, but just going out with your mates on a walk, maybe going to play footy or something and just having a good time.
I was go on, Andy, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say about Rob Reiner. He did the 2 films of Harry Met Sally and Few Good Men, and then unfortunately he made North. Why?
I haven't seen that, to be honest.
Don't bother. It's fine.
Yeah, that's weird actually, because he was only in a handful of films and he died at a very young age. But we've talked about 2 River Phoenix films,
Superb actor, for his age. I think a lot of people, obviously Joaquin Phoenix going to have an unbelievable career, but I think a lot of people when they were young, they expected River Phoenix to be like a superstar. Probably the what Leonardo DiCaprio became, really.
Yeah. All right, then we'll move on. Who wants to go next? Do you want to go next, Andy?
Yeah, go on. Mine's good. Mine's Good Will Hunt, the 1997 film by Gus Van Sant, obviously wrote by Matthew Damon and Ben Affleck. I just love this film. I think it's just a really heartfelt film. Don't get me wrong, it's not the most relatable in the fact that he's literally Matt Damon is a genius who basically is not homeless, but he's had a very tough life. But obviously it's about everyone knows the trope that he obviously solves problems. They're set by I think it's MIT. I think the school is, and there's just so many different elements, like the friendship group he's got, where he's he's a genius, but he hangs around with these slackers in Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck, and Cole Hauser as well. And then there's obviously the love story, Minnie Drive, and then the real heart of the film for me is the psychiatry sessions with Robin Williams, and obviously Stellan Skarsgård's excellent in it as well. But for me, Robin Williams is just so great in this film because I love him when he's showing emotion. I think he's got a face that's got really a lot of heart into it. And I think obviously there's funny bits in it, and there's obviously the scene where he gets him up against the wall because he said something about his wife, and obviously at the end. It's not your fault, and It's just got everything. There's bits of comedy, very serious, and I just like the end where, because obviously throughout the film, Ben Affleck saying, "My one wish is to turn up at your house one day and knock on the door, and you're not there anymore because of what you succeed in life, essentially." And obviously at the end, he knocks on the door and he's not there, and he walks away smiling. I just think that's a fantastic end. I just love it. I just think as a film, it's just something I'll watch anytime it's on. I think it's a perfect film. Obviously a little bit of trivia here. The original second part of the film was going to be a spy film where the government came after Matthew Damon's character because he was so smart. But Rob Reiner and other directors who'd seen the rough cut of the script were like, no. Just leave it as it is. Keep the heart in it. Make it the best of it. And it is, and it's great. I love that scene where they go uptown to Harvard and he's the real smart guys trying to like belittle people, and he's just like absolutely killing them because he's just a genius, and obviously slams the number on the window and says, "How about those apples?" I just love it as a film.
I must admit that I have only seen this film once. I mean, I know it's one of
these films.
I know people consider it one of the best. I just got it very late in life, about 3 or 4 years ago. I haven't returned to it, but I do remember really, really liking it. I thought it was a great film. And I didn't like Matt Damon's character in this at all. I mean, it's well acted. I just didn't like his character.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're not meant to, really, are you? I mean, like, he's just an asshole, basically.
He's a mess, yeah.
But what I like about it is he is this genius, and he's so smart. He can read a book in like 20 seconds or something. Remember that scene where he's just going like that with the pages? But he doesn't realise, for a genius as he is, that he needs Robin Williams, and he just doesn't realise it, and he won't listen to all these people. Like Ben Affleck finally makes him sit up and take notice when he says, "You keep hanging around with us, I'll kick your ass," basically. So he's got the whole smart aspect, but he hasn't got the personality to go with it, and I think it does well the way it tries to bring him on as a character in the film. And Robin Williams is fantastic in this. I do like more serious roles from Robin Williams. He's done another film called 1 Hour Photo where he's a bit of a creep in it, but it's not comedic or not. And I think he was really, really good in that as well. But yeah, I think it did win the Oscar. Did it beat Lord of the Rings to the Oscar as well? Yeah.
No, Lord of the Rings is 2000. This was 97. It won best original screenplay. This one, I don't think it won any acting awards. I think Robin Williams won best supporting actor, didn't he?
Yeah. He is brilliant in this film. I do remember that scene where he gets him up against the wall as well. Have you've seen this one, Aiden?
Only the once, and it was a fair while ago. So I'm going to be very, very brief on it. Thinking back at it, I just remember chemistry pretty much was on point for what it's aiming for as well. Obviously, Robin Williams, Matt Damon, it's not your fault. It's one of the most iconic film scenes that's ever been. In terms of, sort of box office levels, it did astronomically well. 225 mil from a 10 mil budget is crazy for a drama movie as well. That, it's got a plot, but it's not exactly, the most exciting thing in the world that you'd go and watch. So I think on that point, it's done incredibly well as well, and it's obviously held up because we're talking about it right now. But it is one that I do need to watch again.
Yeah,
I'd just like to say one of the scenes I like most is it's sort of human. When you first get to meet Robin Williams, he's talking about the film where people don't know this. It's a famous baseball game, and basically he decided not to go to the game because he wanted to talk to his future wife because he met her in a bar. I've got to go and see about a girl, he says. And that scene's got really a lot of heart. I think obviously them two are the first film they ever wrote together, and I think they've got one coming out next year called The Last Duel, Ridley Scott. But I think that one, for a first film but written by them too, it is perfect in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It just made me remember now that Jay and Silent Bob where they're making Goodwill Hunting 2 hunting season. Anyway, well, should we move on then to your last pick, Aiden?
So,
go on.
So, the movie I've picked, if you're going to call it a full-on drama, you'd probably be lying to yourself. This movie has so many different genres in it. I just went by what it said on IMDb, which was drama, so I'm sticking with that. It was last year's Oscar winner, and it's Parasite. This movie, to me, is as close to perfect as anything I've ever seen. I And I know it's rewatchable because as soon as I finished it, I just went, I need to watch that again, and I did. I think this is incredibly original. I'd seen a few of Bong Joon-ho's movies before this, but Snowpiercer, The Host, Memories of Murder, nothing compares to this. I think it's probably the best foreign film I've ever seen. Before that, I'd probably say A Train to Busan or Old Boy, something like that. Parasite, I'm trying to not go in, with any spoilers or anything because you can't. You need to go into this movie blind as you can. But it, the accolades that it's got, I think, are fully deserved of what you actually end up seeing.
I'll just say I haven't seen this film, which it's really bad for me because I love to watch Oscar films when they come out, and I like to watch the Oscars and I like to do all that business. But I haven't seen this yet. I do love the Snowpiercer though, so I probably will watch it in the next couple of days anyway. But the only thing I can say is I'm really looking forward to watching it, and you've sold it to me twice over there.
Yeah, I won't go into any spoilers or anything, but it is one of the best constructed films I've ever seen. Like the way it's put together, it's half genius. Well, it is genius. There's a moment as well, like this isn't ruining anything, but you see something from one perspective and then another person's perspective, the way they see the world. That's all I'll say, but it's really, really good the way it's done. But yeah, it is a bit of a mishmash, isn't it, of genres, really? I mean, you could have picked this. We won't say too much. All you need to know is that if you haven't seen Parasite, you need to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I will.
Like right now, Andy.
Yeah, later.
I don't want to go too much into it, but go on, Aiden. You got anything else to say on it?
So yeah, for me, looking back at the movie, not spoiling anything, but there is a scene. I think it goes on for about 7 minutes, and it's just a montage of different events happening, and it leads into this big, massive like score climax. And what you're seeing, it's not worthy of the score that you're seeing, but like you're not spoiling anything, but you pretty much just see like a fella looking inside of a bin, and it's little things like that. It's like it's really funny for what they're trying to go off of with the themes that they're going with as well. You'll get a laugh out of it, and like in particular, some of the performances are top notch. And if you one of them people who are a bit iffy about subtitles, literally 5 minutes in, you're fine. I think with how good the script is in this movie, you're going to be more than happy with what you end up seeing.
Yeah, I can't say too much. You can't. I reviewed this on the channel. It was one of the first reviews I ever done, and it's so hard to review because you can't really give anything away. It's so hard to talk about without talking about the movie. You just have to go in.
Is it like Fight Club?
It's its own thing, I'd say.
No, what I meant is you can't talk about it. You can't talk about Fight
Club. Sorry,
I'm very tired. You'll have to forgive me.
All right, well, we'll leave it on that note then, because obviously Andy hasn't seen it. Some of the viewers might have seen it. It is like a new movie.
It's on Amazon Prime. Go and watch it.
Yeah,
it is.
There you go. No excuses. All right, well, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed it. This is just some of our favourite films, an excuse to come on and talk about our favourite films. Would you like to see more of Andy and Aiden on the show? If they'd be up to coming back on again, we'll do it again. Give us some ideas what we can talk about. Let us know in the comments. I'll get back to every single one of you. I just want to say thanks for coming on, lads. Hope you enjoyed it.
Always do.
Oh, yeah. Pleasure.
Yeah. Sad. All right. Well, let us know in the comments. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks very much, everyone. And I'll see you all on the next video. Take care now. See you later.